I was going to let you sit, but I couldn't resist giving you one more lecture. But if you'd rather sit, then I will leave through. I hesitate to ask you by a show of hands because you might not put your hand up to offend me. No, I'd rather sit. It's very interesting because of that, because that's just the way it is. Some people go to the retreat, they just want to park their body somewhere for a while. And their wife says, that's a good idea. Or their husband, that's a good idea. Go park yourself somewhere for a weekend. But this weekend we're doing work, Dharma work. And I'm very happy to see the sincerity in the manner in which you practiced. This is a very short retreat, but you practiced with your heart, which is good. This is something that when we practice, the practice is every moment, and everything should be this way. As I've mentioned to you before, the spirit of Chan is an art. It is something that you take with you wherever you go. You demonstrate it in the present moment everywhere you go. You try to exemplify the Buddha Dharma. Not so much as trying to follow the Eightfold Path or the 37 factors or the precepts or the paramitas, but reflect them. There's a difference. We reflect them from mind itself. All of these practices came from mind. They're the way to settle the mind down so as to become in accord with mind itself. But if in this instant your mind is in accord with itself, the mind looking at mind, all of those practices are a mere reflection of the Buddha mind. It's a different way of looking at things. It's a way of accessing your innate wisdom. You have to use your wisdom. This wisdom, we believe it emanates from being a good person or following a moral path. There's nothing wrong with that. But this wisdom ultimately comes from mind. And the mind that is a non-grasping, not attaching mind. That's just mind. Not a person, but just mind. But yet, as it was said in the Shurangama Sutra, it's the mother of all things. And when we see that, it changes the way that we look at our surroundings. We are no longer confused with them. Sometimes we look at things and we see them very amusing. Master Sheng was actually the funniest person I've ever met. He had a knack of bringing light, a humor to the human condition and all of the things that happen to humans and how odd it is. One of the funniest stories he ever told was one where he was studying in Japan and living at this monastery, and the leader of the monastery wanted him to marry his daughter. Now, understand, Shifu was a monk, right? But in their order, men could marry women, or anybody, I guess. But in any case, it was okay. But he was trying to convince the abbot of the monastery that he cannot do that. He took a vow. But the abbot, coming from his Japanese orientation, wouldn't take no for an answer. And we kept offering his daughter up to Shifu, you know. And the whole story was very, very funny, but it was a story of our human condition, of how we are and how we don't understand each other. And when he was able to speak in this way, it broke down the heaviness of the Dharma that sometimes is there, or the shock of it, or the fear of it. It is why I incorporate, because my personality is that way as well, humor into the Dharma lecture to break up the heaviness of it. If all I did was just give you this lecture, you'd feel like you'd be in a university class. But I don't want you to feel that. I want you to feel it from the heart and experience it from the heart. So let's see where we go to today. I wanted to just give a quick thing in terms of something and then get into another part. This is from Dao Xin, from an essay of his, Abandoning the Body. And he says, the method of abandoning the body consists in meditation on emptiness. So this meditation on emptiness is actually, I would not even call it meditation. I would call it contemplation of emptiness. Contemplation is not an active activity. It is the non-movement of the mind. And in this contemplation of emptiness is absorbing and fusing all appearances that appear in the mind to mind. So they're just naturally absorbed by the mind. As they're, sometimes I refer to it as that it's like transparent fish in the ocean. One can detect a little bit of movement, but you see through it. And so when you meditate on emptiness, which again I call it contemplation of emptiness, you may call it illumination. The mind is just still. There's no thinking, there's no meditating or thinking about what is emptiness. It isn't that way. So like if somebody was misapplying what is Wu, for instance, so the Wat Chou, they may start thinking, well, Wu is nothing, but nothing has to be something if it's nothing. And you could go around in a circle like a dog chasing their tail. But it isn't in this way. It is just simply sitting and resting and being calm and allowing the mind to naturally reflect its surroundings, what is arising in mind, the environment of the mind, just naturally being reflected. So later on, it becomes as if you're just sitting in there, and all of these thoughts are just as numerous as the stars in the night sky, and just shimmering. Even all of them just equal. And the mind is perfectly content in sitting, knowing that all of these little thoughts, potentiality of thoughts, ideas of thoughts are arising, but not chasing them, just simply as if you would sit on a clear night, moonless night, and the sky would just have all of these stars in it. One would just sit. No need to chase after this one or that one. It is just simply the contemplation of the mind. And the mind takes on the quality of a mirrored surface. Sometimes they talk about it as the moon representing the mind, reflecting on the lake surface on a windless, clear night, and just seeing things in this way. the moon is interacting with phenomena and appearances, but its source is clear. We have to stay with the source of all things. And when we can meditate in this way, it works. So we haven't even got to the end of the sentence yet. Meditating on emptiness, whereby the conscious mind is emptied. So we know how to do that. We just sit. Let the mind together with its world be quieted down to a perfect state of tranquility. Sometimes they call it a state of equanimity. A state of equanimity in the Theravadins is the highest jhana or mental state, which means that everything is equal. Nothing sticks out. It is just simply in a complete balance. Let it be cast in the mystery of quietude, so that the mind is kept from wandering from one thing to another. So you stay in this quietude, this stillness. We don't know that. We don't understand this quietness. We don't understand mind, but we are inviting it, engaging with it, and ultimately allowing the mind to devour us. That doesn't sound very appetizing, does it? Just like the lion or the tiger eating the magician that created him, we allow it. This is what's called self-absorption. What does self-absorption mean? It's very simple. The self gets absorbed. You go, I don't want to go. You're going. That's it. You're gone. There will be a moment in your practice when that happens. Whether you're ready for it or not, it will happen to you. Or all of a sudden, the self's gone. The method's gone. Everything's gone. And it's as if it's all there, and the world is seen like being on a stage, and the scenery rolls up like on a stage, and then comes back like rebooting. The only difference is that you've seen that this is an illusion. You, for who knows how long, 1 second, 1 hour, 1 day, 10 months, have been absorbed by mind. It's not the end of mind, but it's the end of you as you know yourself. It's the end of your clinging to a life and being. This is what they call the great death. And they go, Gilbert's saying I have to have a great death. But it's this way. We talk about this in this way, but don't worry, it's not like you're going to commit suicide. You cannot be prosecuted for killing a mechanical puppet. But in samsara, remember, if you kill somebody else, you can't say, well, they were just a mechanical puppet, so I didn't really kill them. You have to follow the conventions of this world. I don't want you guys to say that, or else the people will become very, very worried. I was once giving a lecture in New York, and one of the senior students that had been around for a long time, he was going, I had asked Master Sheng about this. I asked, and then he said somebody else, another master, and he said, I still haven't gotten a clear answer to this question. And he said, what is mind? And I said, okay, I'm going to tell you what mind is, but if you don't get it, you might as well kill yourself. And I didn't know that it was being broadcast on the radio. But what I meant was kill yourself, the self, the ego. But I wanted to have the shock value of saying it in that way. And then I proceeded to explain mind. But it was like saying, if you don't do this, in the right way, you have to kill the self. Sometimes they even say, kill the Buddha. If you run into the Buddha, kill the Buddha, so that you don't have a conception of what the Buddha looks like. Now people are going to say, Gilbert said he wants to kill the Buddha. Yeah. Okay. This is a totally different world we live in now. Everything is recorded. And okay, so we go on. When the mind is tranquilized in its deepest abode, the entanglements are cut. So when he's saying when the mind is tranquilized sounds like some kind of like a dope pill or something, some medicine or something. But what he means by tranquilized is reaches this deep relaxation, this calmness that's there. It's not drug induced, okay? And is tranquilized in its deepest abode. The entanglements are cut off. The mind is in absolute purity, is like the void itself. So the mind is like in this purity, like the void. But I wish we could come up with a better term than void, because to me it always sounds really science fiction-y, like, you have to go into the void. No. And you can picture a big black hole here. Imagine this big black hole, and I tell you, jump in the void. Who would jump, right? A few of you might. It's worth a shot. But you don't know what's there. That's the fear. The fear of the self is that the self wants you to jump, but it doesn't want to jump because it doesn't know what's there. It may mean the end of the self, which is what the self fears. The ego has two qualities to it. One is it's very clever. It knows how to hide. The ego is the supreme master of hide and seek. It hides everywhere. And the other attribute is it's a coward. It's afraid. It fears things. It doesn't make sense because it fears so much things it's willing to die for those fears. Once I saw this program on TV, a National Geographic program, way long time ago. And it was showing these natives in Africa and how they catch monkeys. And what they did was they had a gourd that was kind of that way, and they just cut off the top, then they put a rope on it, and they put a sweet nut inside. And the monkeys would come around, and they'd stick their hand in the gourd, and they'd try to get the nut out. But they couldn't because by putting their hand in the gourd made it too thick to be able to come out the neck of the bottle. So they tried and tried and tried. And you could see the monkeys and the natives approaching them. The monkeys knew this is not good. This person is going to do something to me, but I'm not going to let go of this nut. I value this nut better. And they're there and there and there until the natives literally just came up and hit them with a stick. Out they went. It was ignorance. It was greed that they had. They weren't willing to give that up. And as a result, they die. And that's us. We don't want to give this up. And we're looking in and saying, okay, I will trade you this bliss, infinite bliss, but you have to give up this ratty body. No, I'll take the body. It's like, I always say, that it's like the program, Let's Make a Deal. Do you remember that program? People had a choice of what they could choose. And they'd say, you could have this new car here, or you can choose what's behind the curtain. And they always chose the wrong one. A donkey shows up. So the person won a donkey. We make the wrong choices. It's why there's a great story of talk about choose the Buddha. So we choose the Buddha instead. Why not choose the Buddha? It's the safe bet. It's not a bad bet. You use your wisdom to do that. Sometimes as an attorney, people want to evaluate what's their chances of winning if we go to trial, and whether they should do that. Spend the money to go to court. Nowadays, to go to, let's say, even a small trial, costs about $30,000. So the people, they go to the trial. But I tell them, you need to think, would you go to Las Vegas on the roulette wheel and bet $30,000 on red or black? They go, no, we're not going to do it, because you only have a half of a chance to win. Why would you spend that money? It's foolish. So I tried to talk them out of trying to go to court, because it's a bad bet. But people always choose the curtain with the donkey. Most of the time I can talk the people out. But what I'm trying to do with you is do the same thing. Don't choose the curtain that has a donkey behind it. Choose what is known. Choose the Buddha. The Buddha is the safe bet. Now, I want to talk about Master Hongjin from the early 7th century. So this is a very early Chan master. But it's very good. His treatise rings so true today. So let's see what he has to say. So he has very good questions being presented to him. The first question is, why do you call the mind the fundamental teacher? The mind. So now we're talking about mind. So we're going right straight to the issue. Why is it the fundamental teacher? The answer, the true mind exists of itself. It does not come from outside itself. As a teacher, it does not even require a tuition fee. So you don't have to pay for it. You just have to see it. Nothing in all the 3 periods of time is more dear to a person than their own mind. So they're talking about the self-nature of mind. If you discern the suchness inherent in the mind and maintain awareness of it, the suchness is that we understand that everything is appearing in mind. When you're meditating, you understand everything that's appearing there is mind. And you maintain that awareness. That's why I emphasize so hard when you meditate to maintain awareness. You will reach the other shore of nirvana. The deluded forsake it and fall into the 3 lower modes of existence. Therefore, it is known that the Buddhas of the 3 periods of time take their own true mind as the teacher. So they know. But it's very interesting, because sometimes they say that the Tathagatas use the vexations of sentient beings to practice. And you go, what? The Tathagatas, the Buddhas, Rulai, use the vexations of sentient beings to practice. It's a better way of practicing. We'll find out in a moment. But the reason is because those vexations occur no other place than in mind. So it has to be used to understand. You are the Buddhas. You use the vexation. Your vexations, you're aware of these vexations, that they're arising. Then the next question you see, I hadn't finished this. Hence the treatise, the Vilamakritti Sutra, says, the existence of a sentient being is dependent on the waves of false consciousness, the essence of which is illusory. So the existence of a illusory sentient being is dependent on all these waves of false consciousness. By clearly maintaining awareness of the mind, the false mind will not be activated. You have to be continuous in your maintaining awareness of the mind. That's one of the elements that I tell you that's a prerequisite to any method of practice. In meditation, you have to continuously maintain the awareness that just this mind is the Buddha. Just this moment is the Buddha time. And you will reach the state of birthlessness. Therefore, it is known that the mind is the fundamental teacher. Then the next question, why is the mind of the ordinary people superior to the mind of the Buddhas? And again, I just had mentioned to you that the Tathagatas use the vexations of sentient beings to practice. So this, because it's the easiest way to do it. If you're using the mind of the Buddha, everything's so easy. It's like a person from heaven doesn't have as great of a chance of achieving an awakening than a person that's in the middle of samsara in the human realm, because we are not content with our present status. So we use those vexations and that searching and the dissatisfaction, okay, what is called the mind's disease. But when we break down that term disease, it's dis-ease. We do not have an ease, a freedom and ease of body and mind. That's why we use this sentient being mind to practice to distinguish it from the clear awareness of the mind. The Diamond Sutra says, anyone who views me in terms of form, seeks me by source, is practicing a heretic path and is unable to see the Tathagata. Therefore, it is known that maintaining the awareness of the true mind is superior to reflecting on Buddhas divorced of oneself. So if we want to go, please, Buddha, show up in front of me, and it won't work in this way. No, it doesn't work that way. Even the Christians say it shouldn't work that way. There was a story of this man, and every night he would get down on his knees by his bedside and pray, please, Jesus, let me win the lottery. Let me win the lottery, please, Jesus. Every night religiously he would do that. One day a big light showed up, bright light. And he's like that. And he's going, Jesus? Jesus, you're here? And he goes, yes. He says, every night you pray to me and you tell me, please let me win the lottery. Let me win the lottery. Let me win the... It's all I ever hear from you. He says, I'm willing to help you, but meet me halfway. Buy a lottery ticket. This is similar to our practice where we hold the Buddha and say, please, Buddha, let us become enlightened. I want you to do that. No, we use the intrinsic nature, our own Buddha nature, to absorb the self. It's already here. We just have to recognize that. So the story is a funny story, but it's meaningful because we're not setting something apart from ourselves. And we have to make those choices moment to moment. Okay, hold on. This cushion's not correct. This is, yeah, okay. Therefore, the Vilamakritti Sutra says, dharmas have no self-nature and no other nature. Dharmas were fundamentally not generated in the first place. So he's saying dharmas here is phenomena. Phenomena is fundamentally not generated because it's an illusion. It's a fabrication in mind. And are not now extinguished. So they're not extinguished because they never were. So if you're in a dream and you're going, oh my gosh, I just barely made it out of that dream, that the boogeyman almost got me, you know. And people wake up and say, why were you so afraid of the boogeyman? It was just a dream. You made him up. Oh yeah, I never thought of that. But this is how you see things. This is a true way of seeing. What we think to be real is unreal. So when we invest in the Buddha mind, we see things clearly. Okay, so we continue on. Enlightenment is to transcend the two extremes and enter into non-discriminating wisdom. If you can understand this doctrine, then during all your activities, you should simply maintain awareness of your fundamental pure mind. If you're not doing this when you're sitting on the cushion, you are truly not sitting in Chan. You have to maintain that awareness. You have to do it that way. If you're sitting there wanting the Buddha to come with a Buddha bus and go, hop in, Gilbert. You know, it's your time to go now. Really? Yeah. Okay, let's go. You know, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. It's just the absorption of the illusion that changes things. To someone who has had a realization, the world appears the same. The only difference is that one is aware that the world is a dream. Do this constantly, again, continuous, and fixedly, meaning that's concentrating on that, without generating a false thought or illusion of personal possession of something, my problem, my joy, my leg ache, my this, my that. Enlightenment will thus occur of itself. And it is in this way that the realizations will come on their own. You don't have to ask for them. Naturally, they'll come. It's like as if you had a dirty window, right? And you're squirting it with Windex and you're wiping it off. And then all of a sudden, naturally, it's going to be clear. You're going to be able to see. That's one way of practice. And the other way is to see that originally all of that dust that was on there is not real. You snap your fingers, the dust falls off, and it's clear instantaneously. If you ask a lot of questions, a number of doctrinal questions will become greater and greater. If you want to understand the essential point of Buddhism, then, again, be aware of maintaining the awareness of the mind is paramount. I mean, he's hitting this hard. And this is why I hit it. I actually read this after I'd been hitting people with awareness for quite a long time. When I read this, I went, this is right on point. I can use this. Maintaining awareness of the mind is the fundamental basis of nirvana, the essential gateway for entering the path, the basic principle of the entire Buddhist canon. So the basic principle of the entire Buddhist canon is maintaining awareness of the mind. What is the awareness of the mind? The reality that everything is created by the mind. All Buddhist canon, all sutras, all treatises, everything is predicated on the fact that everything is created by the mind, the shortcut. This awareness, moment to moment to moment, knowing there's nothing separate from mind. All appearances are illusory. Anything that moves is an illusion, is conditioned. We don't invest in that. It would be like somebody saying to you, I've got this really beautiful view lot to sell you. You can build a beautiful house there. It's overlooking the ocean. Wow, that's great. Where is it? It's 200 feet up from the ground. And you go, wait a second, I can't build a house there. It's got a great view. No, but there's no foundation. Precisely, there's no foundation in anything that moves, any conditional things. Doesn't matter how big of something that you build. Shifu was very insistent on that. He didn't want, when he died, he didn't want people to erect a stupa to him, so people would go and be talking to him. Shifu, I'm trying my best, and doing it. He didn't want that kind of a thing. He didn't want people to go to his grave. So he was buried in 5 places in the burial ground. So you couldn't say, well, this is where his ashes lie. He didn't even want the shirlisis. You know what shirlisis are? He ordered that his bones be ground to a fine powder. So much that so when they're pouring the ashes into the ground, it was like a cloud coming up because it was so fine. So he didn't want to have his shirlisis touring the United States, or wherever, or here's one shirlisi for you, or whatever. He was clear. He didn't want to have anything, any kind of a monument to himself. This is the way that he was. Everything was direct and a matter of fact. But he was very true to all of that. And that was important, that we see things in this way, not to cling to anything in this world. So, and the last one was the patriarch of all of the Buddhas of the past, present, and future. So everything created by the mind is the patriarch, the main Buddha, who could be called the primordial Buddha, sometimes known as Virachana, and there's different names for him, but Virachana, if you ever hear Virachana, is a primordial Buddha. Sometimes they even use Samantabhadra as the primordial Buddha, but that's a whole different story about talking about Buddhas. But the point is that all of this comes from maintaining the awareness of the mind. So when we sit to meditate, we have to do that. When we get up off the cushion, we maintain this awareness of mind. We are constantly reminding until there's no longer any necessity to be reminded that this world is a dream. But we walk in it, but we know it's a dream. It's different. It's different because you see it differently. It's like if you were watching some program on TV and you're so enthralled in it. Oh, this is so real, right? But you know it's just a movie. But this is how one approaches this world. The only difference is that it does matter to the people who are in this movie because they suffer or appear to be suffering. But the solution is so easy. Just don't play the game. If you're a bodhisattva here, you have an interest in telling the people, don't play the game. It's like somebody Let's say he has a gambling problem. What would you do? Tell him, don't gamble. Why do you want to gamble? You're losing all your money. Where's your car? At the casino. Well, who's driving it? I don't know. I gave it up. And you go, you have to stop doing that. This is nonsense. You have to stop playing this game. Wouldn't you tell them that? Why are you gambling with your life in this lifetime? Stop playing this game. In the end, you're going to lose. You can't beat the casino. Maybe you can beat it for a moment, but then you go back and want to play more and more and more, and then you end up losing again. It's a fixed game. The only way to play it is by or win it is to not play it. Then you can freely move, the freedom and ease of body and mind. You can freely move in this world without any obstructions. Not bad, pretty good. You have an all-access pass. And so the things happen. We know they happen. Gilbert, he's going to die. This body's going to go. But that which calls himself Gilbert will never die. That's just the way it is. It's very interesting. About 2 years ago, right at the onset of COVID, I was coming back from Poland where I had given a retreat, and I was flying back. And while I was there, I had a very bad neck problem that preceded me going there, and Kaiser told me it was just a twisted neck. And it was very, very serious when I was there. Even though I had such a serious problem, I couldn't sleep. I gave the retreat, the 7-day retreat, and then was returning back. While I was on the return flight, I felt this shuddering or shaking, and I opened my eyes for a moment, and I was seeing these faces looking down at me like this. And I went, this is a strange dream. I don't want to be in this dream. And boom, I would go out again. And I'd go into this beautiful light, incredibly beautiful light. And I know they always say, don't go in the light, don't go in the light. But it was very attractive. There was no me there. There was no sense of me, no sense of anything except just home. And then, wake up, wake up, wake up. Huh? No, this is a bad dream. I don't want to be in this dream. I want to go back to what's real. So boom, I would go out again. They kept doing this and doing this. I was dying on the plane, and they kept trying to revive me. And what I thought was a neck problem was a serious blood infection that affected my neck, and my systems were shutting down. So I was dying on the plane. But every time I didn't want to be there. I just kept saying, this is a dream. This is a dream. A bad dream to boot. I don't want to be in the dream. I want to go. And so then I would go out again. It's like somebody knocking on your door, like nuisance calls, right? And so they kept shaking me and trying to revive me. And finally, I looked over, and I went, this is not, what is this? Why am I looking up at the top of the cabin? That doesn't even make any sense. So I'm sure I'm in a dream. And then I looked over across the aisle, and there was a crash cart, the things that they open up that have all the medicines and everything else and the pumps and stuff. And I went, oh, this is not a dream. This is serious. What the heck is happening? And so they kept trying to go, wake up, what's your name? what's happening? Wake up. I'm going like, no, no, no. And luckily or unluckily, there was a doctor that was on board and also a Navy SEAL medic that were there that were reviving me and getting me going again. And so I came back. I remember what I was at, though. I remember that there was no sense of self there. It was just incredibly brilliant light. So now I do not have a fear of death. But I came back here for a reason. My job's not finished. So it was like just I have to go through things and do it. And so this is just the way it is. I was revived, and they took me. I was the first person off the plane, imagine. And so went straight to emergency. And they determined I had this blood infection, which I had no idea I had. And in Poland, I was being treated for neck adjustments. And I had no idea that I had this severe blood infection. But the pain that I had was very great. The pain was such that I wouldn't wish on an enemy. The only thing that kept me going was that they first had to control the infection and stabilize my vitals. And then they start working on my neck. I kept telling them my neck is killing me. But first we have to get you stabilized. So every day I would just simply sit in a chair day and night and meditate nonstop. The samadhi that I got into was very incredible, but it was the only way to kill the pain, was just to meditate. So rather than lose faith in my faith, I went deeper into my faith. I went deeper in. And as I was sitting there, I would think, my body condition is not good, but this is impermanent. I'll either die or I will get well. But there's so many people that are suffering worse than me. I would transfer merit. So I would sit either in meditation or Nianfo, reciting the Buddha's name. All day, all night, they go, we need to take your vitals. I just hold my arm out like that. I was their best patient because I didn't require anything. No, I was just there. I would eat and then go back and do that. My state was such that probably for 9 months, I couldn't sleep in a bed. This was my COVID experience. I couldn't sleep in a bed. I had to sit sleeping up because my neck was so bad. I have a scar on the back of my neck about that big, like that, where they opened me up and then dug out all of that junk that was there. But they had to cut into the muscle. So even now, my neck muscles are always in pain. But you get used to it, you know. And but it taught me a lot. It taught me a lot about this world, and that it really is a dream. And it taught me not to fear, to go deeper into the void, deeper into the faith. And so I wanted to share that with you. I don't think I've ever said that in a retreat before, mainly because I haven't had too many retreats since COVID locked us all up. But it was something that I think is apropos for this one, to give you faith to practice, and not to be worrying about, what happens after, not to fear death. You don't welcome death. You don't fear it as well. You understand. Like Shifu said, not bad, you get a new car. So it's okay. But it has helped me understand the sutras and to go deeper into the sutras, and to understand mind. But more importantly, what it's done, it's helped me to understand how to explain it to others. That makes it meaningful, that it's not just some kind of an intellectual exercise or a scholarly presentation, but something that's useful in your daily life that you can use every single day, every single moment. And to give you the faith that if you follow this, just like Master Hong Jen said, the awareness of the mind is so crucial. That is your key. The awareness of the mind is that everything is created by the mind. And so when you sit in meditation, you're sitting in mind. You're not sitting there wallowing in your self-pity about your legs or about what's happening in your life or what's happening on your favorite soap opera or whatever. It is, I don't think they call them soap operas anymore, they call them series. Okay. But in any case, you are sitting in peace, resting in the present moment. When you can rest in the present moment, initially there's a great joy, then it turns into this equanimity. And this equanimity, as you walk around, the things, they don't bother you. So the day that Master Sheng had made me a Dharma heir, that whole retreat, he was on me and criticizing me. And when I went to see him in the afternoon, it's a long story, so I'm cutting to this pertinent part. He looked at me and said, "You don't get angry too easily." I said, "What for? Why should I be angry?" "No, whatever that is belongs to the other person, not to me." And he was assessing, like sticking the fork in. This one is well done. And he should be happy because he's the one that cooked me, And it was in this way where it was settled, and it was because I had put down everything, put down all kinds of notions of what enlightenment is, all notions of wanting something or putting something down. It was just complete. It was finished on its own. I didn't have to bring it to a culmination. Trying to bring it to a culmination or to an end would have messed everything. It just was something that's natural, that's there. And it was interesting. I told the story to some of you, but I'll go ahead and tell you, because it's kind of an interesting story, because during that retreat, as I mentioned, Shifu was very tough on me, but we had this ceremony where you take a bowl of water from the lake. This was at DDRC, and then you take it all the way up to the Chan Hall, and then you put it in front of the Buddha. And I had already been really deep into my practice, who was reciting the Buddha's name. And when I filled my bowl, I filled it all the way to the top, like all the way to the top. And so when I got the bowl, I remember Goyen Fasha looking at it and going, "Huh?" He said, literally said, "Huh?" Like, how do you expect to get this up around and climb up and go back to the center? There's no way. So as I was holding the bowl and walking up, everybody seemed to be like moving very quickly, like fast action. And soon I was by myself. And I was just walking and walking, watching the bowl. By the time I got back up to the Chan Hall, they had gone through at least 2 periods of sitting and exercises and rest. So it was quite a while before I got back up. And when I got back up, I had this bowl. And I went to try to put it down, because outside by the window, you have to squat down, and I saw where all the bowls were at, so I had to put my bowl down. And in that moment, I had this thought, like, ta-da, I made it, I'm going to put this bowl down, and it's going to be filled to the top. Everybody would be able to see my accomplishment. And so as I was putting the bowl down, my legs locked. I couldn't bend down. My legs were so sore from just walking so ever so slowly. And so I couldn't bend down. So as I was trying to bend down and loosen my legs, the bowl spilled on the front of my shirt and pants. So there I was. I had my big badge of failure on the front of my shirt and pants. I was soaked. And I just had to break out laughing at the foolishness of the whole notion of doing that and saying, how stupid I am to be thinking this way. What is this? Why would I think that this was such an accomplishment? This is the accomplishment of a fool. And I'm looking at it and just laughing there at this. And I'm going, yeah, now I'm going to go inside. And I'm going, oh, look, Gilbert, he spilled all the water on him. He failed. And I was just laughing at that because it was as if the bottom of the bowl fell out. And so I went to sit down, and I sat down, and I remember it was during one of their breaks. And so I just sat to meditate, and I sat there and said, no matter what, it doesn't matter what Shifu thinks about me. It doesn't matter about anything. Nothing matters, just this. I just kept thinking, just this. Because the self was, in that moment, just completely absorbed. It was like just this little bit of me sticking out like a reverse birth, right? And you're up to here, and then poop, you're all the way in again. And it was as if Gilbert's gone. It was just this. And so as soon as I said that and said, I don't care what Shifu thinks, somebody tapped me on the shoulder and said, Shifu wants to see you. And so I go in to see Shifu. It's totally different. Before, when I'd go in to see Shifu, even no matter how many times I'd been with him, it's like the cowardly lion going in front of the Wizard of Oz. Ooh, ooh, go, yeah, there I go. But I was sitting there, and it's a long story with other parts, but I'll skip those parts. I'll just go to this part. So Shifu was saying, how is your practice? And I said, it's going okay. And I said, but it's a fake. And he said, what do you mean? I said, it's a fake. It's a sham. It's not real. It's a fraud. And he said, what is a fraud? What is a fake? I said, the whole thing is a fake. It's just a joke. I remember saying, it's just a joke. And he's going, what do you mean? And I went, Shifu, right now, you tell me right now, immediately, who is reciting the Buddha's name? Tell me right now, from your own words, who is reciting the Buddha's name? And he just smiled. Because he knew I wasn't acting. It was spontaneous. It was just simply the way it is. I knew he knew what I was talking about. But it wasn't a display or anything. It was just a spontaneous moment. So don't ever do that and try to replicate that, It was spontaneous. But he knew there was a difference. And he knew that I had some form of a realization to be able to do that. That night, then, that's when he made me a Dharma heir. and which the ceremony is like 5 minutes, and it's like in a closet, type thing. And it's so quick, and oh, what's that? No, well, it's he hands you a certificate, and I don't even think I got a clap. No, more likely the one hand clapping, but anyway, it was just something. I wanted to share that to you because I'm not special. I'm just like you. Maybe the only thing is that I really try sincerely. And since that time, I'm trying harder and harder and harder, not for myself, but for all of you, to try to bring you to share with you those little M&Ms that Shifu was passing out on the first retreat that I was with him. Those gems that he had. And we had talked about before about notes and not taking notes. And Shifu, he would say to people, what did I teach yesterday? And people would say, well, you talked about emptiness. You talked about this, it just in very general terms. And he said, Gilbert, what did I teach yesterday? And I said, before breakfast, you talked about this in great detail. After breakfast, you talked about this, and I went into all the detail of what he taught. And he went, how do you remember this? And I said, I don't remember it for myself, Shifu, but it's my responsibility to remember all that I can of what you said so I can share it with others. And that's why I have so many Shifu stories, because I try to remember them. I try to repeat them to people so that people can benefit from that wisdom that he had, and to share it with you and give you the sense of this connection of things. And it's just this way from generation to generation. Once I had actually wrote a book, and then it was too early yet. But no matter what, I still had the energy and the encouragement to write a book. And then one day, Shifu, that was the same retreat, and Shifu was saying, and then you wrote a book, and you're just using my words, just copying my words. I later found out that's what his master said about him. His master said, you're just copying my words. So he's just taking it to the next generation. And this is the kind of the interesting part of the practice is that there is this next generation that happens. In that retreat, before the bowl incident, Shifu would be talking like he's talking to you, and then there'd be another aspect of him that would turn to me and would be scolding me. And I'm going, how can he be scolding me and talking at the same time? Like if two bodies. It was very, very strange. And he would just be looking at me and scolding me. And then he'd go back. But it was as if there was, because that part, I'd go, wait, how could that happen? Because he's presenting the Dharma. But where did that come from? How did that even happen? I don't know. Even to this day, that was a pretty good trick. Pretty incredible. But it was something amazing in terms of that. And so that particular retreat was very, very interesting. Again, I don't want to say that to make you think that I'm special or whatever. It is just to give you faith, to show you why I press so hard on you, really push you hard, you have to take yourselves to the limit. Don't ever think that this is enough. Push. You all can do it. You all can have these realizations. It's simple. One of my students, Robert, he said, it's simple. You just practice away. It's simple after studying and practicing for a while, and you get it. But you all can do it. You can all change the environment around you. And as you begin to change the environment around you, you will see that it works. What is the environment around you? At work or at home? Is it harmonious? Is it combative? Is it in disarray? Is the house a mess? Is there things there? Or is it neat, clean, reflecting your mind? I'm not a perfect person. I don't like clutter, but I still have clutter. But I work on it, and I understand that. I'm a practitioner. No matter what, I'll never stop practicing. Every day, you're a beginner. Every day. You never think that you've got it. You never think that this is the end. Mind continually surprises me with different things that occur. Whatever experiences you have, you just set them to the side. If you hold them with you, then you mess everything up. You just set everything to the side, except your practice. And as you practice and your wisdom comes out, your innate bodhicitta, that interest in helping others, will come out as well. You can't suppress it. It is like a fire hose. Initially, it's just this little trickle, but after a while, it's like a fire hose. This incredible river of Dharma that you want to express to people. There's no way you can suppress it. You just have this interest of taking care of all sentient beings. I really hope that you will share that with me and practice in that way. What time do we have? Is it, we finished? I think so. We went into overtime.
It's about time for sharing.
About time for sharing. Sorry I went into talk too much. To me, that seemed like 5 minutes. So thank you. So we finished the retreat. Thank you very much for coming and practicing. I know it was like really quick. It was kind of like a pie eating contest, But hopefully you can remember this and practice and invite me back. Thank the monastics for inviting me, and hopefully I can come back. I'm just in the neighborhood just down the way in Southern California, so I can fly up here. So perhaps we can create a series or something that I can come. Okay? You just have to ask. Also, one last thing is that I'm on. Oh, sorry. Forgot. Also, I'm on Zoom every Monday at 6 p.m. Giving a class, an hour-long class, and half an hour of questions. I also have from the Mighty Networks a mind work group that people can write in and respond to questions. They could ask their questions. So please, perhaps somebody from here, Jenny, perhaps you can disseminate that information to the people, and I can put you in touch with Esther, which can give you all the information to pass on to her. I won't have a class this Monday. Well, today's Monday. But I will start again next Monday. So you're welcome to come. If you have questions, please come. And I answer questions. And the questions that I got from this group were amazing. very amazing for your level. You showed a good level. I was very surprised about that. The level that you had was a sincerity of wanting to practice. So, please continue on in this way. Amitofo. So we can share.
Yeah.
I turn it over to the regularly scheduled program.
Okay, so it's time for sharing. That means everyone can talk if you have something to share with everyone. Yeah. So you want to share or you want to turn it into a Q&A? I don't know. Up to you.
Yeah, I'm really interested in seeing what you thought of this, the good and the bad. No, because it's been 5 years since I've been up here, so I want to hear from you.
It's immutable. So if that's the case, according to the Heart Sutra, it is not empty. Then it is real. Then can I call it the Buddha nature, our mind? And then you also mentioned one mind. So our mind is one mind, or is it called Buddha mind?
It's the same.
Okay.
That's why they call it ekayana. The Buddha mind, our mind is there. It is, sometimes they say, if everything returns to the one, where does the one return to? And it returns to the mother, to the source. And so, yeah, this is a good way to look at this. It's very interesting. The Heart Sutra was like a diving board that you spring on it, and then you have to jump off of it. Again, it doesn't give up its deep, profound wisdom so easily. It looks like it, and it looks like you get it, but it's so much deeper than you think. You're working on it, and that's what you should be doing. So then you see that it springs from there to Buddha nature. But the Heart Sutra is based more on the emptiness, but from there comes Buddha nature, which was more defined by the Tathagata Garbha Sutras. And so that further clarifies. So I invite you to practice and to study more. You're in the right way.
Thank you. I'm not finished yet. So
Go ahead.
I have more like a conclusion. We lost our mind to this illusionary world, which is the dream. Like we are living in a dream. And so we need to wake up to reclaim our mind. And the way to wake up is through meditating with the methods and studying the sutra and doing sincere volunteer works. That's all. That's my conclusion. Is there anything missing?
It's a good start. The only thing I would clarify is when you say we need to wake up, it's not plural. It is mind awakens. Like that little tiny piece of mercury that thought it was by itself, it just rejoins. It's the absorption of the self. But you are on the right way. The ancients would say the path ahead, the mountain pass ahead is clear of snow. So you can continue on. Okay?
Thank you.
So I came to the practice maybe 7 years ago. And what brought me to the practice was a book titled Understanding Our Mind by Thich Nhat Hanh. So it's great to be back here. First time since pre-COVID. I did my first retreat here with Gilbert. It's really good because I was missing the food, and it's the main reason I come. But thank you for all the effort by the volunteers. It's much appreciated. This is a beautiful facility, and it was really wonderful to come back. For me, in my practice, it's about assimilation over time. You have I've had very small realizations along the way. And for me, the big takeaway in this retreat is the Buddhas are everywhere. We're all Buddhists. To have that confidence in ourselves that we have the Buddha mind and we just have to manifest it. Thank you.
I came to get to know Gilbert about 5 years and 7 months ago, and that was a major turning point because I just had a stroke at that time in 2016, and I met Gilbert 2017 October, and then after that I have 2 more strokes, not because of him. But the funny thing is, after the first class, somewhere along the line, in the WeChat group, he gave an example of a sweeping. A monk was teaching someone who don't understand, who doesn't write, who doesn't read, how to practice a sweep. And somehow that example kind of stick on to me. I said, okay, that's simple enough, because I don't read a lot. I don't like to read, but I like to listen. And I kind of remember and keeps on repeating what Gilbert say. So sooner or later, I got a nickname called Parrot. Parrot is someone always repeat what you just say.
Like Ananda.
Huh?
Like Ananda was that way with the Buddha.
Oh, well, he's more handsome and younger. I don't have his experience. So the second event that clicks is precisely the last 3 days' message. Around 2018, Gilbert started mentioning, at least I catch the word awareness. And that is like a light bulb. In fact, it's not even a light bulb. It's a firework. It literally explodes. It's like my eye just opened up. It's like, oh, it is so revealing that if you just take awareness from your cushion is a certain way of practice. But if you take your practice from the cushion to home, to work, to your garden, to your gardening, to your food preparation, to your cleaning, to everything you do, God, the practice. Tathagata used vexation to practice. It is so true. I notice this. It's almost like you're constantly in a target shooting range. All this vexation, you can always find vexations because your mind never stops. Never stops. At first, they come on at you like in thousands. So many things that you don't like. A lot of things I don't like. Little thing I might like, but then as soon as they go away, I become very sad. So the practice ground of Buddha using vexation to practice, we are so lucky. Being a human being, we can practice. We can literally practice. And Gilbert saw me making baby steps over the last 5 years. And I just remember, sweep, sweep, sweep means practice, practice, practice. Just sweep, Just practice. You don't have to remember anything else. The second word is awareness. Take awareness to your life, to work, to everywhere, to supermarket, to the gas station, to everywhere you go, to the restaurant. When you meet the restaurant people, the server, some of them are very nice. There's so much chance during the interaction with them. Some of them are very nasty. Some of them are very nice. I mean, very soon you will develop a sense of compassion, because you realize how much suffering you have, because everyone will realize your own suffering. And then eventually you will know how everyone actually are suffering. And you really want to help them to realize how to see the suffering and how to get liberated from it. I mean, I never dare to say the word liberated, but occasionally I'm liberated. Occasionally, not all the time. I'm still trapped. I'm still in the dream. But a few years ago, my dream kind of cracked a little bit. It's like what Gilbert said. The sword sliced the sky. The dream cracked. It's so funny. All of a sudden, I see things completely differently. I don't know how it happened, but by just awareing the situation, awareing patika samappada, process and condition, because so many things can happen either this way or that way. It just happened this way, you don't like it, but it's not permanent. Because literally, a day after, 2 days after, something else came up, the situation flipped. So the first 3 days ago, was that a dream? Had I been so mad, and I could have completely maybe destroyed so many things, but I prefer to observe, aware. 2 days later, it's a completely different scenario. So everything, I mean, at first I can't understand everything is a dream. When Gilbert said everything is a dream, I say, no, it is so real. It is so real. But then when I keep thinking about impermanent, and try to contemplate what pratika samappada means, at first, causes and condition never fail. I never get it. But it took me maybe 2 to 3 years to slowly crack it. So I just want to set everybody's expectation. Don't expect you'll be able to crack the shell. Yeah, as soon as you're a little chicken inside an eggshell. The shell is very difficult to crack, but don't worry, you will crack it. But just be patient. Just practice. Don't crave, don't hope for cracking. The more you hope, the more you won't. Don't try to get it. Don't. Just practice and awareness. Don't grasp. I want to crack it. I want to slide the sky. No. You that way you never get it. But if the more you don't do it, the more you will. The more it will just happen automatically at its own right time. At least that's a. That means. Yeah. Thank you.
I didn't want to stop him because I wanted you to see somebody that was like you maybe 5 years ago, and how he's changed in terms of that, and his exuberation. He caught my exuberation, wants to tell things. Other people comments. I'm interested. They don't have to be long, just whatever. I want to know what your experience was, and now go for it.
Hi, I'm Sammy, and I'm not very expressive, but I'm going to not put the goose in the bottle. So it's just been really nice to have Gilbert back. I think it's been 5 years since we had Gilbert here in the San Francisco Center. And I feel very blessed to have him leading the retreat this time. Because I feel that, Gilbert has this harmonious bodhicitta within him. Coming to the retreat, I feel like a lot of it has helped me. A lot of my obstacle, being in a retreat, which is, I was already expecting drowsiness, leg pain, and wandering mind. But I think that during his Dharma talk, he talked about the shortcut and no grasping, and I just find that I don't have that mental kind of obstacle that to during like a normal retreat that I would go through, that I just free myself with because I know that all these suffering is created by myself, by my own, because I tell myself that it was there to obstruct me. So I think that, and then, during the interview, I really felt this kind of like mind to mind, the presence, but, probably Gilbert will say that that was created by my mind as well. So, so thank you, first of all, for coming to San Francisco and leading the retreat. And I felt that even though it was very short, it was very productive because we had a lot of sitting. I was most of the time I was very drowsy, but with Gilbert's encouragement, I just kind of stuck through with my method and keep going. And then so much to share, but forgetting what to say. And thank you for encouraging. I feel like a lot of times, my mind is already pretty full, or that I couldn't absorb more. But I think that it was very encouraging for Gilbert to tell me that it's within, we all have the Buddha nature, and I will remember that. Thank you, Gilbert. Amitabha.
Okay.
Thank you. My name is Alvin. I was here 5 years ago with Gilbert. I think, Cynthia, you were here too, right? And it was around your birthday. And I still remember you shared, that's like the greatest birthday gift. So, and then when I saw, the newsletter from the center early, a few months ago, I immediately signed up, even though I moved to Hawaii 2 years ago. So I just flew in. I remember 5 years ago, that retreat was a turning point for me to say, okay, I really want to participate in DDM's activities. Even though it's funny, when I was in elementary school, I read Shifu's book. But I started coming here, I think it was 2016, something like that. But I wasn't sure because, sometimes Shifu's book can be for all kinds of people. But to me, I was at a stage that I was eager for the right view. So, but it wasn't I couldn't find that, immediately when I came here. So when I attend Gilbert, your retreat, that time it was like a shock to me. And then I went to your retreat in Taiwan in 2018, I think. And then this winter I went to DDRC, and they played Shifu's recording. And then that was when I found out, oh, Gilbert is exactly like Shifu. How they present the retreat, like, Shifu is all different. Like in this book, he's like that, and that book, he's like that. But in the retreat, he's just exactly like you. So I really appreciate this way of, I don't know if everyone, but for me, I really need that to kind of like, keep me going. So thank you very much. And you were joking, you have so much to say. You need a 30-day retreat. If you really have one, I would definitely go.
Good. Thank you.
Yeah, and I just want to say thank you, everyone, for practicing with each other. Yeah, thank you.
Good. Thank you. Anybody?
Thank you so much. I would want to go to the 30-day retreat too, if that's going to happen. Although I'm also a super new beginner, I'm just very appreciative of this entire event, of Gilbert, of everybody, of volunteered, and also Changxiang Fashi and Fashi. So I think it's such a bless to not only being able to practice the sitting, but also being able to hear so much Dharma talk, which is also very inspiring and enlightening. I would want to go into the Dharma and understanding of the Dharma more. So during this retreat, because probably when I studied the Dharma myself, I studied them in Chinese. So sometimes the English words or like the Sanskrit words I don't understand. So if after this talking, if anyone can share with me what sutras or like stories has been mentioned in different languages, I would really appreciate that too. Thank you.
Good.
Thank you so much.
Just one quick thing, if people are interested in what's coming up in my schedule, I'll be going to DDRC in the summertime, and I also have a retreat in Virginia, which is a very special retreat, a little bit shorter one from the Washington DDM group there, and that one's going to fill up fairly fast. But if you're interested in that, that's a very special retreat as well. But the Dharma Drum is a traditional 7-day. The other one is in the mountains in Virginia. It's very beautiful, and a lot of my serious students are there, so there's a lot of Dharma there, but a lot of also, just like here, that will want to build a congeniality between all of you and myself, so that we are like brothers and sisters in everything we do. So you're welcome to that. And then at the end of the year, I will be in Jinsong in Taiwan, and I'll be giving a retreat there. So you're welcome to go there too. And that's going to be a pretty good retreat. I'm preparing for that one as well. Also, when I'm there, I'll also be doing a monastics training. So that's good. And having some exchanges with Guo Lu and also Go Sheng. So I'll be very busy there in terms of doing many lectures and things. So if anybody has some time in December, then you're welcome to come. Okay, go ahead.
I just have a quick feedback to you. Sorry, I didn't catch your name. Cherry. So I know this center, they have the volunteer group as translator, interpreter. So I joined both. They're in the group for a little bit before I moved to Hawaii. I think it was a really great place to be, to practice both English and Chinese and learn the Dharma and blend them together. So they allow me to explain these ideas to others, both in English and Chinese, and also just learn more myself. So you might want to consider joining them.
I'm Alka, and one Saturday when I came in, my mind was totally full of clutter, and it's been like this since quite a few weeks. And now after the retreat, I feel so light and so joyful, so grateful. So thank you so much, Gilbert, and thank you everyone for making it possible. I would love to attend a longer retreat if possible. And I really love your style of imparting knowledge. You inject humor, and that really, goes to the right place. One thing very interesting I wanted to share is that I asked you quite a few questions, and interestingly, I had some questions which I didn't pop up, but when they came to my head, you answered them automatically, and even when nobody had asked those things. So that was like, wow, what is this happening? And it happened so many times. I was like blown away. So thank you so much.
It's very interesting because, as I mentioned, there's always a third channel that runs, and so that channel was there, and you're tuning into it. And sometimes when Master Sheng would lecture, the people would have the sense that he's just speaking directly to you, and he had that kind of an intimacy, and the intimacy is mind to mind. So you felt that. That's good. You asked very good questions, and again, you have a very good condition to practice. So I really welcome you, and I would welcome you in a longer retreat too. So please look into that. Okay. Very good. Other question? Don't be shy. Okay, good. We have one here.
Well, actually, this is a very special and meaningful 2 days for me, truly. And also very graceful, because you mentioned we have to demonstrate Chen in every moment and every activity, not just in cushion. And I try to remember that, and I try to carry on that for these 2 days. It's not perfect, but I can feel that it's a very special feeling. You feel very peaceful, very calm. No matter what happened to you, you just keep that graceful. So it's a very good experience. And on top of that, you are a very sincere person. I can feel that deeply. So I always listen to your Dharma talk sincerely. And I really enjoy your Dharma talk. As everybody mentioned, you are very humor-witted wisdom. And also you have big compassion. You so much want to liberate everybody. You even said that to the Shifu, you say, well, Shifu, if you don't liberate me, I will liberate you first. I can feel that was truly flowing out from your heart, and very touching and very moved. And one thing to take away from this retreat is, now I do believe we are the sleeping Buddha, just need to be awakened. And I have a better belief on that. And I really like the shortcut. And I feel that's more realistic after your Dharma talk and everything. Truly, everything is created by mind. So whenever there's a dust on the mind mirror, I was just remember, everything is created by mind. So that will make my life less suffer, and everything will getting better. So thank you so much. I really appreciate. Now I just want to go home. Home, 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 sweet home. But that home is beyond the sweet and bitter. It's no duality, and that's our true faith. So, yeah, I will keep reminding myself that. Thank you so, so much.
Thank you. First time I heard Shifu speak a lecture, I felt like I was at home. that I had gone home. So it's very interesting that what you said about home, because I was searching. What does this all mean? And in a very simple lecture that he gave to a general audience, his words rang so clear through to me. I knew I was home. I knew that I would follow him. The very first time I could feel his sincerity and compassion. So I really hope to be 1/10 of his greatness. Thank you. More questions? Yep.
First, I want to thank Changxiang Fashi and all the volunteers for organizing this retreat. The food and the living condition is as fantastic as always. Second, I want to thank Gilbert. So I started to follow Gilbert's teaching 5 years ago, starting from the WeChat group. And I think Gilbert's teaching benefited my practice tremendously. So in this retreat, most of the time I was trying to, how should I say it? Trying to allow myself to accept the first noble truth. Although the Heart Sutra says that in emptiness there is no Four Noble Truths. But in this retreat, most of the time I'm trying to make myself realize that it's okay that life is bad. There's pain, there's negative emotions, and it's all okay. And there's one particular experience I want to share is that I kind of have a better understanding of the poem sentence. The sublime way is not difficult. It is really not difficult because as long as we keep relax to the very end without going to sleep, then the natural awareness will appear. Then that is the natural self nature of the mind. There is not a single moment, even the most difficult moment with all the negative emotions and leg pains, the natural awareness is still there as long as we are willing to relax and choose the Buddha. And I think that's something I'm started to have a deeper feeling about. And thanks a lot, Gilbert, for the teaching. Thank you.
Amitofo. Is why I start in the guided meditation with relaxation first. And that induces the awareness, the true awareness. So, you have gotten to the bone marrow. That's good. Any other comments? I'm interested in your comments. Otra vez? Again? 25 words.
Last 3 days, I used 3 words. 4, 5. Expand on suchness relating to awareness, please.
You have a question?
Can you expand on suchness?
I could, but I don't have the time. Perhaps later. I want to have people have an opportunity to talk first. But yes, the suchness is very interesting.
Yeah.
The suchness is just simply the way things are. Suchness and thusness. What is the definition of thus? Does anybody know what the definition of thus is? As it is. And it's just that way. Actually, the Christians had this and they lost it. How do they end their prayers? Amen, right? So be it. It is just thusness. And they missed that. But we use that as our cornerstone, the Tathagatas, the thus come one. So this thusness defies definition. It is our original mind, our original face. When we see that, then when we have the awareness the original mind, original face is clear. We just have to relax, like Hema said. We just relax, and it will be there. Okay, any questions? Nobody?
I'll quickly share.
You go ahead, please.
So thank you again. It was really wonderful meeting you for the first time and helping out on the retreat. I also felt the sincerity right from the first day we met you, trying to discuss the logistics of the event. And throughout the retreat, sometimes there's a lot of things to talk about. So sometimes I can't follow it because I'm also trying to take care of the participant. But somehow it always comes back to this core idea. And so it really occurred to me that you're really going to the heart of the Buddha Dharma, and that I really, really appreciate. And it reminds me very much of the Heart Sutra, right? And the way it's just all compact in this really small space in this very small time. And I think that was really helpful, even though sometimes I get lost in your explanations and things. And lastly, I was about to ask you about how to develop faith in this, the Buddha mind, right? And then you answered it at the end, with your own personal story. So I really appreciate that. That was really meaningful and touching.
Thank you. The Heart Sutra is very important because it's a little sutra-ette. It's part of a greater sutra. But what was important about the Heart Sutra, it was a manifesto. It was a statement of Mahayana. It was a response to Theravada and the Abhidharma that contended everything was real. And so in its sense, it was what they call the turning of the Dharma wheel. In the 2000 Space Odyssey movie, it would have been the monolith that showed up that changed the course of things. And that's what it was. It was this giant monolith that showed a different vibration, a different feeling, a different understanding, but still true to the core. And that's what makes it an incredible